tenant houses, and when the water go back down, we go back and wash out the house and move back in it. And we did that quite often as a young boy. And at one time there was like 19 kids that caught the school bus from Waverly. And at the Sand Hill, it was probably about the same thing down at the Sand Hill. And we had a real good like that. And the best thing I remember was one night, Bonnette, Kimble, and I was walking over there to catch a school bus. And I was barefoot and the skunk went out the side of the weeds on the side of the road. And I took off out there and Bonnette kept telling me to come back. And I wouldn't. And I caught him in and I kicked him in the rear end and he turned the flip. And he just sprayed me all over. And Uncle Ernest made me ride in the back of the school bus, church bus, and I got to church, I had to sit in the back of the church, and I had to ride the back of the bus back home. But when I got home, Daddy smelled the skunk way before I got home. And when I opened that front door here, Mom was in the bed right there by the door. He said, "Boy, what did you do?" I said, "I kicked the skunk." He said, "I ought to get out of this bed and whip you with a frail pole." I don't know what a frail pole was, but I put it through it was kind of bad, you know. But anyway, I wore those clothes, Mama washed them. And a year later, I was going to the parish fair in Europe. And I was sitting in the back of the bus, I had those clothes on. One of the boys said, "I smell a skunk. I smell a skunk." And I didn't open my mouth, I didn't say a word. But that it never did come out of the truth. It really never did come out of the truth. And there were 6 of us in my family. The oldest brother killed in World War II, his name was Willard. And then I had a brother, Otis, and then May, Martin, and Richard, my 3 sisters. And we lived next door to Cotton Kimble. They lived on that way. And Cotton and I grew up together, just playing in the river all the time. And a lot of boys would go to school, I'd bring them back out there on the weekends, and we'd stay in the river all the time, just playing around. And hunting little turtles. Everybody in the river back knows about catching little turtles from the river. They were worth at 30 cents a piece at one time. And I'd get off the school bus way above the house and walk along with the pitch on the way home, and sometimes catch 30 or 40 on the way back home off the school bus. And it was a good place, it really was. And I built a camp back up there too, about 15 years ago. And well, we still had fight with it. It's a really good place to be. Okay, I'm gonna turn the mic over to Lordine.
Well, I'm not as old as these guys, so I can't tell the old little 3-row story. And it's funny that he should tell a story about a skunk, because that was going to be my story. Not that story, but it's a story about a skunk. You know, my brother Larry is, as a teenager, he was one of the fastest persons running. He should have run track if we had that at Melville High School, but he was fast. We used to go hunting in a pasture. We didn't need a gun, we had Larry, because he'd outrun a rabbit. So this one day we went, Larry and I went, we were barefooted and jumped up a rabbit, and Larry started chasing him. I wasn't as fast as Larry, but I wasn't too far behind him. And he chased that rabbit probably half a mile. The rabbit kept zigging and zagging and zigging and zagging, and Larry was zigging and zagging behind him. I was going a straight line to save a few steps. And we got to an old levee. There's a great big hole inside that old levee, and that rabbit went in that old levee. So my bright brother said, "I'm going in after him." He said, "I want you to hold my feet around the ankle." And he went in, he disappeared except for his feet that was in my hand. I was running the hole. And after a while he said, "Lord, get me out here. Lord, get me out here." Down at the end of the hole was a skunk. And Larry met that skunk and they said hello to each other. So I pulled Larry out of there and we went on back to the house. And Mama wouldn't let him in the house. Mama made him go in the backyard, pull his clothes off, take a shovel and bury his clothes. And I didn't want to be around Larry for a month after that, but I think he finally got it all washed off. And that is a true story.
Don't sound true? Don't sound too much like it. It's the truth.
Hello, I'm Bonnette. I live here in Simmesport. I got my brother's here, my stepbrother, and I got 2 sisters. Now, they all are right. They're pretty decent bunch of people, but they got to be watched over. You got to take care of their business. You got to take care of Darlene's business. You got to take care of Vernon. You got to take care of Billy Wayne. Well, my oldest stepbrother, I can't do too much to him because he's bigger than I am. So I just got to go along with whatever he says, and it's got to be all right. But we still get along all right. Okay, my daughter's here with us today. I'm glad she come by. And that's all I can say, really. Thank you.
I forgot about my wife. Oh, I got my wife here for y'all.
Gene, tell me some story about your dad. Tell me a story about my grandpa.
Yeah, you know the story.
A good story about my grandpa.
No, you really wouldn't want to know about your grandpa because he was one of the sweetest men that anybody would ever want to know. Out of all of these kids here, he had 6 boys and he had 4 girls. Naturally, I'm the best of the 4 girls, but none of the boys was any good. I turned around and had 5 children. None of my 5 children any good. They all took after my daddy. But you know what? I still miss my mama and my daddy and my 2 oldest brothers. I wish they were here with me today.
Amen. All right.
Me too.
Good. Okay, Boo.
I okay then?
Shell the corn, Boo. Talk to him. Say hi.
Hello. Y'all want me to sing? I'm pretty good.
Ken, don't do it again. We don't want you to.
One of the reasons that Ken wanted to do this, and I'd like to hear from Tammy in a little bit about Uncle Louis and Tommy, but Ken had a really good idea because this generation, we were there, we remembered what all happened. Younger generation, you have no idea of what kind of a life it was back in those days. So he wanted something that he could put on record that our grandchildren could understand. A lot of kidding and all going on, but on a very serious note, to grow up on the river at a time that we grew up and drink the river water that came right out of St. Louis sewers and the filth that came down the river, it's amazing that we survived drinking that muddy Chapelai River and Mississippi River water. But that's all that we had. And our transportation, back when I was a boy, we lived, as Lee said, on the river. And every year the water would come up and go through the house, and we'd have to go to the levee, carry what little furniture we had, rent a house for a month or so, river go back down, go back out, go up the house, and continue to live there. But our transportation back when I was a boy was all boats. We didn't have the automobiles and all. And one particular story that stands out and has forever, we put the entire, we had what we call a gas boat. It was an old 1-cylinder iron gray old motor. To start it, you just rocked it back and forth, the big old wheel, and then turned it over and you go put. That was where we raised the nets up, and then we had a little bateau that we fished the trot line. You guys know what we're talking about to live down here, but the younger generation, you have no idea. But to guide that old net boat, there was a piece of metal that went straight down under the boat, and we had a chain on it and a stick, and you just pull it back and forth, and it would guide that boat. So all the family, mom and dad, and all the brothers from Johnny all the way down, we were going up to visit Uncle Edgar up there at Sandhill. Somewhere between when we started to where we were going, we ran into a tree stump that was way out in the river, and that rudder stuck right into that tree, the stump. You couldn't see anything. but it's stuck in there. So we couldn't go forward, we couldn't go backward, we couldn't get off of it, and we're just sitting there, and Mama and Daddy was saying, well, we're going to do something. So Johnny jumped into the river, swam to the bank, walked up the river to where Uncle Buck and Aunt Emma lived, and they came, Uncle Buck came down in his boat, and we're just sitting there in the boat waiting. He comes down the river, ties on to us, and together they were able to pull us off of that tree. Then we went on up to Sand Hill. But that's how we travel. It's a whole different world to the younger generation. And those that will hear this in years to come, you'll not be able to imagine it. But as Lee and Nodi said earlier, it was a fantastic lifestyle, fantastic. There were no income taxes, there was no worrying about light bills, there was no worrying about insurance, there was nothing. And so it was a very wonderful time for a young person to grow up. It was just precious. So we have some great memories. Now you go in to visit someone and you stay there about 10 minutes and you're gone. But it took so long to go up the distance of that river, you stayed several days before you came back down. But it was a wonderful time, and I'm glad to see some of the survivors are still here. My brother here, he's not bashful at all, and he's got a lot he wants to talk to you about. So he punched me to give him the mic.
Well, let me have that thing.
Yeah.
You say it. Where you punch on? You don't punch nothing. You're talking to right there. Say hello. Hi.
We said the riverboat down.
Yeah. No, I go.
That's good.
I go back a lot further than Willis and Rodney and Larry and everything. Absolutely. They talk about all those gas boats and stuff. Oh, gas boats and whatever. We had the old row your boat here. We never had no gas boat. That was for rich people. I had to walk from Miles to Melville 100 times, I guess, in my lifetime. And I was no more than 7, 8 years old. And what I would really like to do right now is have Joni Jackson sitting right here.
That's right.
Joni Jackson and I was closer than any 2 cousins ever. And that old boy, I got so many memories of him that if he was here, we could share them together, you know, and he would remember things I didn't, and all that stuff. And we could talk for 9 hours, except I got to go home in 2 more minutes. And I just want to say in parting about, I enjoy this more than anything in my entire life. And in closing, I want to say that I'm glad I'm the best looking Meyer, all of that stuff. I'm all of that, the best one ever. And so now, I've said the best stuff. I'll turn you over to
I'm Bonnette Battle. I live in Bookstore. We have a lot of good memories with them. Especially me and Mardine. I don't know why we always teamed up so much with the rest of them, but we did fight a few little capers. I just asked Jean today if she remembered one time I went to Aunt Minnie and Uncle Bus's gas boat, like Larry said, and you always stayed a few days. But Mama and Aunt Minnie and Uncle Buster went to town and went somewhere, and they left Jean to watch us, and she was cleaning house. Me and Lardine wanted to go inside, and she said, y'all not coming in the house because I'm cleaning out. I want to clean when Mom and Daddy got back. So Mr. Lardine, he goes to get a wagon, and I don't know if everybody knows about the board-out balls that used to grow on the riverbank. Yeah. We filled that wagon full of board-out balls, and we went and threw them in the window while Jean was cleaning the house. And you know we was good. And we always got the job of cleaning the fish when we got together. And one day we was cleaning fish, and we wanted to go play ball, and Lardine was cleaning away, and I was giving the fish, straightening them up. I said, oh, Jesus, Lardine, we got 2 left. And there was a little ditch by where we were standing. He said, bury it. I said, good. Shot me a stick and dug me a hole to bury my fish. I don't know if Aunt Minnie and Uncle Buster missed them or not. But we was always doing something. I remember talking about the gas boat. Lardine, remember Mom and Daddy and Uncle Buster used to race the gas boat. Daddy called his the green lizard. I don't know what Uncle Buster called his. But every time they got together, we had to race, and me and Lord Jean would get on the bow of the boat and say, "Go faster! Go faster!" I don't remember who won every time, but we had a good time. We had a good time all together when we was coming out.
Yeah, I wanted Tammy to say something about Uncle Lewis and Aunt Tommy.
Tammy, can you come up?
Oh, Billy
Annie's granddaughter right there.
Mel, can you come tell about your
Melanie.
Melinda?
Yeah.
You can say something about your mother, your grandparents.
Come on, talk about Uncle Lewis.
Mel's got two sisters here.
Lewis Nichols.
I know Louis Nichols' story that I would love to tell you. I don't really have a bad word.
No, just watch your language and talk.
Well, I can't tell you that, don't
Yeah, you can. No, you don't have to use bad words. While we,
The funniest thing that you can remember about him was he would pass gas a lot. And when he would do that, and his pants was always slipping down, and he would pick them up and he'd holler, "Oh, yeah, yeah." So everybody, when they think of him, they just think about him passing gas. See, I didn't want to tell nobody that.
Uncle Lewis, go ahead and come on and tell the story about Uncle Lewis while we're waiting. Uncle Lewis was one of the funniest men. I always say that. Stop that. Willis and Lee and them always talk about my daddy, Uncle Sharp, and those, how funny they are. Since Tammy won't come up, I'll tell you a story about Uncle Lewis. And there is one semi-questionable word here. But Uncle Lewis and Aunt Tommy was my daddy's sister, and Aunt Diddle's, Aunt Emma's sister. And every once in a while they get in an argument. So Uncle Lewis went to my house, visiting with my daddy one day, and he called my daddy Neil, said, "Neil, Tommy's not speaking to me no more." And Daddy asked him, so what happened? Said, "I don't know what I did, but she's not speaking to me no more." So, so a couple of days later, Uncle Lewis went back there, and he was full of smiles. And Daddy asked him, and this is a true story because I was there too. Dad said, "Lou, said, everything looks okay today." He said, "Yeah." I said, "Tommy started speaking to me today. She spoke 3 words to me." And Daddy said, "Well, what'd she say, Lou?" She said, "Kiss my butt." And that is a true story. Colleen, you want to come?
And I'll tell you from right here. Everybody can hear me. I'm very loud. The ladies from the church we had all gotten together to go up to Miss Annie's, who was not well, to go have a ladies' prayer service with her in the afternoon. It was very, very hot. She did not have air conditioner. She had the natural breezes. And Mr. Louis Nichols walked through, and he had a paper carton that had Barks written on it. And he had different flavors of glass bottle soft drinks, the grapes and the orange and all, and it was sweating. It was so hot, the moisture was just dropping off of it. And I said, "Oh, Lou, can I have the orange?" And he looked at me, and we were there. Everybody had Bibles. We were having church. He said, "Oh, hell, woman, I don't sleep with you." The only thing that saved the whole thing is nobody understood him but me.
You're talking about Melanie or something. And, is there anybody else that would come share this mic and tell a story? If not, if that's all Larry's got, we're not ending this party right now. We're trying to get this mic out of my hand. Wilson's about to check it out. But I would like to say thanks. I said it this morning. I thanked special people that helped me today I see Aunt Tommy doesn't have any kids here. No, she's got a granddaughter. Aunt Minnie's got 2 or 3 here. Aunt Diddle's got a couple here. Aunt Emma's got